once again, live and in living color on the north side of Lake Como, coming to you from just on the south side of the northeastern, southeastern, and western section of, we're in the southeastern corner of Wisconsin on the north side of Lake Como, high atop the 48th floor. And we're going to be talking to Fernando Plata down in Miami, Florida this morning. And on my left, I have the beautiful and vivacious Miss Kira Peterson.
And to my right is Randy Weckerly.
And we're going to have fun today pertaining to finding out more of what's going on in the Miami scene.
Woohoo!
If you've never been there, you're going to want to go there. This is our Florida Open for Business campaign. And soon we're going to be, hopefully, going to try to talk to
Fernando
Plata, who is one of the co-founders of Big Cypress Distillery down in Miami.
They have really cool labels.
They do. They've got a great website. If you haven't gone to this, go to bigcypressdistillery.com. It is it's a beautiful website, number one, very easy to navigate. The co-founder, who we're going to be talking to, Fernando, he's got great pictures on there.
Yes.
And we thank him for his service that he's given to the country and what he has done in building this distillery in Florida.
They have really cool cocktails.
They really do.
I've been looking at them, and now I want to drink.
Yeah, it's very cool. So anyway, he'll be coming on. But Miss Kira, we got a full day in our Florida Open for Business campaign. So
we sure do.
At 11 o'clock, we have Sean Nordquist. It's 11 o'clock Central Time.
Yes.
Coming on. He is the head of the Brewery Association down in Florida. Brewers Guild.
Of Florida.
Yeah, and he's a great advocate for the brewers down in Florida and the distillery world down there. We are going to be talking also to Philip McDaniel.
Woohoo!
Up in
St. Augustine.
St. Augustine, who is also, he is the leader of the distillery.
He is.
World down
he
in
won
the
a
state
grant. What was that?
A big,
an award.
Yeah, so.
I need more coffee.
Anyway, these are just great advocates in the state of Florida because when golfers go golf, the one thing they do, they always go sip. So anyway,
Fernando is here. Randy, again. Get ready for the music.
I know we got that.
My phone always working my business.
It's brand new. Absolutely.
Maybe I need to upgrade my phone.
So we thought we'd just bring in a little first one we've ever had with his own.
Look, Fernando's there.
You got your own music, Fernando. I mean, come on. Good morning. What do you say?
How are you guys? Thank you for having me.
Can we hear him?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we
can.
can.
You hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Can you
it's
hear him?
because of your music you're playing.
I don't know. Here we go. We'll turn
singing
it down.
his Fernando music.
You're putting the ABBA song is the one that I usually get introduced to.
Yep, that's the one. That's the one that Randy was playing from ABBA.
I had to plug my earphones in, Fernando. I apologize. I try to keep as much of this out of my earphones as I possibly can until we.
Whatever. You're gonna miss me next week, so I
know. She's going on vacation.
Oh, yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah. No. Well, I've had two of my largest clients tell me that. What do they tell me, Miss Kira? You just reminded me of
that I'm always right.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I figured that out a long time ago too.
Yeah. If you the two best words in any relationship, and she's just basically my work wife, never will be anything other than that. But we travel a lot of miles together.
I deal with you on every daily basis.
Well, she's been assigned.
Even on the weekends.
Anyway, let's talk to Fernando. Fernando, thank you for putting up with our, sort of infighting here. But
he's the referee.
She's going to be in Miami, by the way, and you can retain her in December. So.
Welcome to come to the shop anytime.
You
guys, that invitation is open to you.
Well,
anybody who come down here, give us a call.
Yeah.
And we will try to host you.
Well, golfers golf, then they sip. And our friend Rob, who talked to you, the initial phone calls, he's very excited about this interview because he says if there's a guy that knows everybody in Miami, it's this guy named Fernando. And so we're very interested to hear that story. But anyway, I really appreciate your spending some time with us this morning. You have a beautiful website. Let me give you the kudos on that. That is put together really well, easily navigated, and people can. The one thing I wanted to ask you about, you're one of the co-founders, correct?
Yes, I am. I'm one of the three.
Okay, well, tell us that story. How did you decide one day, wake up and say, well, I got nothing to do. I guess I'll open a distillery?
Pretty much.
Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. So, I got this little thing called ADHD, and I suffer from boredom all the time. And
You fit right in here.
yeah, so I do love to drink, and I love spirits. My experience on the spirit side is usually on the opposite side of the bar. But yeah, I've been making beer since the mid '90s. Um, and one day, as you know, it's illegal to distill without a license.
All right.
Um, in every single state. I mean, one state decriminalizes it, but it's federally illegal to distill. So I've never distilled prior to getting my license on December 15th, but I do have some experience that I guess I gathered, not quite distilling, right? But we decided that we can make a good whiskey one time, and I reached out to one of my cousins, which Mark, another founder, and I said, "Hey, man, you want to open up a distillery?" Sure. Who's going to be the distiller? And so we got to figure that out. I wanted to be the distiller. I've been studying it been on the beer side, like I said, since the mid '90s, and decided to just pick up every book I could this was in 2014. For about a year, I read every book and manual that I can get my hand on. And at some point felt that I could distill, that I understood it, really emerged in some of the not so sexy aspects of distillation, like how yeast behaves, what it produces, and pretty much, I don't want to call myself an expert, but became well knowledgeable in that area. And we started just making everything we could, many iterations for each of our products until we can put out that met our quality. And 3 years later, we're here with 3 products. We've made a lot more with distillery-only products. There's quite a bit, but 3 products that are on the market and very well accepted in the South Florida market.
Oh, that's great. One of the things that runs through your website is that you talk about basically in an open dialogue about what you're doing. And it's you've obviously, I would imagine that you probably had a lot of, ups and downs and test trials and, what's good and what's bad and, some of your preferred ways of doing it. But, a lot of people try to keep their information hidden, what they're doing, what they're working with. It sounds to me, or you have a feel that you're pretty open on what you're doing.
Yeah, I'll share my recipes with whomever wants them, down to the SOP, temperatures of fermentation. Yeah, the reality is that in the beer world, these guys are used to sharing. And it probably has to do with the fact that brewing at home is legal. So it's okay to share. Anybody who's distilling at home is doing it illegally. So we probably have to be a little bit guarded. And some of it comes from years, right? I mean, look at how some of those, there's used chartreuse, for example, which is one of my favorite liqueurs. Everything is secret. No, we don't divulge any of our 140 plus herbs and stuff. So it's created a community that believes that they have to keep everything secret. The reality is that we don't. And I want you as my customers to understand every drop that goes in the bottle. Legally, we don't have to disclose that. But from the craft perspective, I believe that one of the charms is letting you guys know and make a decision as a customer that this is something that you do want to consume. And this is exactly what goes into the bottle. If you want to replicate it, you can give it a shot. I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'll even answer questions.
Well,
so yeah, we're 100% transparent.
Well, anybody, and we thank you for your service, that was part of the 82nd Airborne Division. That is not for the faint of heart either. So anybody that's followed a lot of the first ends going into battle or going into protecting our country, the 82nd Airborne certainly has a history deep and wide in that. So thank you for that.
Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
In the getting to know, and again, then after that, 24 years as a software professional. So you've had quite a background. Now you go into, which I call, and I've visited with many distilleries, well, about 500. And I always consider, the one thing I wouldn't want to be is the person that the job you're doing, because we also deal with an insurance agent by the name of what is that guy's name?
Randy Krantz.
Randy Krantz. I'm picking on him a little bit, but he came on and he told us about the different issues of not the successes but the failures in distilleries that that they have to insure against. And at that point in time, I just considered it witchcraft. I said, I'm going to let you guys sit and do it. I had a person in my family that's close to it, and there's just some tough issues that you have to deal with. And you're well positioned. Where are you in the Miami area? Where are you located?
So we would be considered the Kendall area, but what used to be the Miami Airport, which is now the Executive Airport, with the smaller airport in Miami. So yeah, we would be like southwest Miami.
Okay, so got that. That's really a really nice situation. We're looking at your gin and the pictures that you have up there, Miss Kira.
Well, I have a question, but you won't just.
I've had too much coffee.
He's had too much coffee.
I'm done.
Me too.
I only had one, but anyways, with your cocktails, how do you guys come up with your cocktail names and what goes in your cocktails? Because I was looking at some of them and they're super cool.
Right. So we know what we know and we know what we don't know too. So when it comes to the cocktails, we've partnered up with some of the well-known local bartenders, and we ask them to shine. And what they do is they just pretty much all the cocktails you see there is a flip on classicals, and that's pretty much how the dark daiquiri and stuff like that. Daiquiri uses a white rum. We're using a dark rum in this purpose. So those guys, but they're the ones that balance out the cocktails and make them. We're distillers. We understand that at the end of the day, the gin that we produce is just one of many tools that a bartender can use to make that experience for their customer. Whatever, this great experience that people are looking for, and it's the bartender that does that. So we know what we do and we know what we don't do well, and we let those guys come up with all the cocktails. One of my assistant distillers, or my assistant distiller, is a phenomenal bartender, well known as well. So we have the ability to use them. So that's pretty much what we do. That's how we let them come up with the names and all that stuff. I don't try to influence any of that. I only take their feedback.
Right.
And we bring it back when we're making our products, but I certainly do not try to influence what they're doing. Those guys are geniuses in their own right.
Very true.
Well, it looks like you have a deep and wide distribution through the Miami area. Are you outside that area also at this point yet?
Just now, so over the last 2 years, so Miami's a tough market. We happen to be Bacardi's backyard, as well as Southern Glacier or Southern Wine Spirits, which is the largest distributor in the U.S. We're in their backyard, so you can, and we're also a much larger brand outside Miami. It's a much larger brand outside of Miami than in Miami in general. So we figured if we can't break our own backyard, we don't need to be going anywhere else. So just now we signed up with a new distributor called. Can I give their name?
Sure, absolutely.
21 Spirits, and we're now broadening outside of Miami. We had a few accounts in Broward County, which is our neighboring county, but everything else was in Miami-Dade. But yeah, we've made a decision that we're moving among. We've done pretty good in our backyard. We've concentrated in on-premise, which is all the cocktail bars and restaurants that we believe have some sort of synergy with our product. But for the most part, we're strictly in Miami. But hopefully by the end of this year, we will have a much better penetration into the Orlando and Tampa and Naples markets in Florida. And hopefully next year, we'll start expanding our distribution into Georgia and Texas. Let's see how it's tough.
Well, why not? Hey, the state of Georgia, they became a state with only 13 people. And so, why not go? I've heard they've gotten bigger, and pretty interesting story. I love the history of the culture down there. One of the things in talking with Rob that called and talked to you, he says you're quite involved in the Miami area in a lot of different things. Would you like to share what those things might be? Because we understand that you're not only a distiller, but a pretty remarkable individual.
Well, no, I'm a distiller and a pretty shit individual, but I do get involved in a lot of stuff. I'm a hunter and a fisherman, but I'm a conservative. I mean, the environment is everything for us, you know, and it's pretty funny because we're looked at as the ones that are destroying the environment. And the reality is that I've never poached it or never taken an undersized fish in my life, and I've never killed an animal that was not in season or that met the limits for that particular area. So I do believe in the management of these areas greatly. What I'm about to say, it's not, it's a little bit on the controversial side, and I certainly do not want to pick a fight with the sugar growers in Florida. But as you guys know, we're having issues. We're having issues with the quality of the water of Lake Okeechobee. It's not only the sugar growers. We have about 300,000 plus, yes, roughly 300,000 plus septic tanks on the northern side of the lake that are over 30 years old. So those septic tanks are leaching into our waterways. I'm not going to get too much into this. It'll probably bore quite a few people here want to talk about drinking. But the Everglades itself is a nutrient depleted ecosystem. So the sugar guys, the water that leaves their facilities is fairly clean, but not clean enough, and some of it makes it into the lake. Everything, the lake eventually dumps into the Everglades. And then everything coming from Orlando on the Kissimmee River and Walt Disney World, yes, sir, I said it, they're a huge part of this problem, ends up in the lake. So by the time, and this is just, phosphorus is just one of the things we measure, by the time it's leaving the lake, the phosphorus numbers are way through the roof. Like I said, the Everglades is a nutrient depleted ecosystem. Once they pump that into the Everglades, then you have an imbalance where you're creating, the cattails are outgrowing the sawgrass, and it's just nasty. So I do quite a bit to protect the Everglades. We source our sugar and sugar and molasses for our rum comes from Paraguay, and it's organic. The reason we source it there is because that's an area. First of all, it tastes good. It's good for our product, and secondly, it's sustainable. These guys are not killing their dirt. Now that being said, I'm all for the sugar growers here, but they're going to have to say, yeah, we're part of the problem. Let us help clean it. Right now, they claim that they're not part of the problem, even though they might be only 25% of the problem and taking 100% of the blame. So the minute these guys agree that we have an issue and we start cleaning our issues, I will start using Florida sugar again. So I'm not against the growers, but I do love the Everglades, and I do love clean water for all. And we, from a distilling perspective, we use all our cleaning supplies are fairly expensive, but they're good. They're environmentally safe. So we do a little bit on the environment, helping the environment. I'm absolutely in support of business first and all that stuff. So I understand how complicated it is, and I hate regulations. We live with most. I mean, I don't think there's any more regulator industry than the industry we're in. But the reality is that we do need to admit that there are some issues. The minute we admit that the issues are there are fixes, and we just got to start working towards the fixes. But we're so polarized these days that we just don't even want to admit the fact that there are issues, and it's happening all over the place. But back to drinking.
Well, before you go back to there just for a minute, if you haven't noticed, my parent company, where I did all my research, and it stems from my days. I used to be on Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom back with Marlon Perkins back in the 70s and 80s. And yes, I'm that old. I'm 190 years old, but that's okay.
You're looking good.
I know. She keeps me young. But
pickled. If you drink enough, you get pickled.
Yeah. Well, net sipper too. You know. So we had this big background in golf, and then the specific information about this world. But what happened was, if you go to liveecostyle.com, that is still all about a bunch of research I did before I got into this dynamic of the links and libations, is that we have on that a self-certification I did a lot of research in for years called ecocertificationonline.com. And we decided, because of the issues in Florida, it's a self-certification We don't have people, you know, crawling around in buildings or anything like that. It's basically a 6-part self-certification where it's a checklist. Do I do these things well or don't I? Do I fit in the community, you know, on a 1 to 5, you know, scale? Do I hire within the community? Am I eco-minded in terms of the issues you're talking about it? I'll open it up for you because I want to get the feedback on it. We have a lot of people in Florida because of that. What it really is it's an inventory of what you're doing today, and then a year from now, did you do things better? You know, a little bit better.
Sure.
And so it's pretty good. And we take a look at what you did. You can sit and talk to people in the area, what they're doing, but it creates that dialogue of sustainability, a big word, farm to table, food that we see everywhere. But what the statistic was that got me started is that if people could push the button when they're doing an online trip planning and they could hit make my travel eco-minded or eco vacation, 67% would push that button. There just wasn't anybody doing that, you know, and it was too hard to define. So we defined it. And then we had another survey that said 93% of everybody considered themselves eco-minded. So those two very simple, if you go to ecocertificationonline.com, you'll see those two very big statistics that whoever you're having a dialogue with, it's just a statistic. You can't get around it. So we can talk about that later. But that was the basis of my company before I even got into this. So
that's pretty neat. Yeah, and I'll certainly take a look and support it as much as I can.
Yeah, it's just a feedback, and what we want to do is that mainly what we're doing right now is that we heard the story that you're telling about. That's what started our campaign. We've dealt with leaders across the country. If you go to our linksandlibations.com page, including Sean came on, and we had an interview with him. He's going to be on later today at Nordquist, and Philip McDaniel, about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, great guy, by the way. Philip, let me tell you a little something about him.
He's great. Yeah.
Single-handedly,
yeah,
he's made it possible. He's made it possible for craft distilleries in Florida.
Yep.
One guy, and he's Philip.
Yep.
And say whatever people want to say about him. If it wasn't for him, we would not be where we are today. Yeah. And he continues. Now he's getting a little bit more help finally after so many years, but he continues to pave the ground for Florida distillers. And yeah, we really do have to thank him. And distillers that are coming into the industry now in Florida, they might not know who he is, but it's to their best interest to get to know Phil. Yeah. And to support him. Yeah. The guy has done a lot for us. Yeah. And we thank him. Yeah. Absolutely. You're talking to one of the best guys.
Yeah, we talk to him as frequently as we can. He's so super busy, is that we consider him a good friend, and he's allowing us to get our stories out on his emails and his websites and everything. Phil, he's just a great guy, as you said. And people, if you're going to get in this business, call it Phil McDaniel.
Oh yeah.
And
he'll help you. Yeah. He will do what he can, and he's not expecting anything back. And whenever there's campaigns, he'll get you in touch with the reason we get in touch with our local Florida congressmen and stuff like that. The local, what we call the senators, the 150 some senators. It's all through Phil's relationships, and it's paid off. It's paid off. Yeah, we went to Phil and Phil's San Agustin Distillery and our distillery were the only ones representing Florida for when we were trying to get the federal tax lowered for $13.50 approved gallon down to $2.70, which is what's right now. There were quite a bit of other distilleries throughout the United States, but it was really Phil and our distillery from Florida. We got quite a bit, so we just there is a lot of work to be done. Florida is not the most distillery friendly state. There are reasons for that, and we can talk outside. Certainly, that we can talk outside of the interview. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you know what they are. Yeah. But a little bit at a time. Every year, we and again, thanks to Phil, every year we're able to take an additional step. Mm-hmm. So it might take another 7 or 8 years, but Florida should continue to get better as a state for us distillers.
Well, you're a world of knowledge, so you're on our we must call every month list.
You're welcome to.
No, we will. And Miss Kara, do you have any questions or anything at this point?
No, I really want to go down there.
Well, you're going to be there in December. So
I know.
she's coming down for a wedding, so stand back.
I'm not going for a wedding.
Aren't you getting married?
No.
Oh, misinformed.
I'm going to visit one of my best friends that lives down there.
Yeah.
Well, you come to the distillery whenever you're down here, or we can have we can sponsor a happy hour at a local bar. That's even better. The distillery, you know, you get your tastings and all that stuff, get to see how we make it. But when we're able to host something at a local bar and let these wonderful bartenders turn that gin into magic, or that rum into, it's an awesome experience. And the craft culture, and I should say, I guess I should mention that the cocktail craft culture in Miami is just booming. We have one of the top 10 bars in the world. It's in Miami. I believe that there's that bar at the Four Seasons in Miami Shores. I certainly believe that's going to be one of the top 5 bars in the world coming up. Incredible. What these guys are doing is over the top. The new bars are coming up every, I'm guessing 1 or 2 a month are popping up that are top notch. Miami's a very tough market for what I meant, like I mentioned before. Brand is a lot bigger outside of Miami than it is in Miami. But we're doing great. I'm very proud to be part of this city right now.
Well, that's great. We're going to have to continue this story.
I was going to say, we got to definitely do a happy hour.
Well, we're going to come down after the PGA show in Orlando. I mean, that's the other half of what we do. I've been going to that show in Orlando for 35 years. So, again, why Links and Libations started as a magazine. Golfers golf, then they sip. Who knew, you know? And
well, they sip while golfing.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they go to spas, they eat out. So anyway, we want to feature in the next 6 months all these great destinations in Florida to try to help let people know that all the eco-minded, problems that have been in the news, Florida's still open for business, and people like you make that happen. So
appreciate that.
No, I'm going to give you a call right after this. A couple of things I want to talk to you about. And but anyway, we'll be in touch, and always make sure that give Miss Kara and I a call after the PGA show. We'll be roaming the state. If you want to have us come down and participate in one of your experiences down there, we'll get you on the calendar and get that done.
We'll throw a happy hour for you guys. Just let us know, and we'll do something. Absolutely,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. We'll do something for sure. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for your time, guys.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you, Fernando.
Always come back on. Thanks, Fernando.
Take care.
Where's that
Bye,
music?
guys.
Do you have the out music?
No, you haven't.
See you.